Hey everyone, it's Dre and Summer for a weekly Get Resource where we talk about everything about relationships, connection, back to self, source, and others. Yeah, we are here. We've been struggling with some audio issues as of late. And so hopefully this time around, I'm not hearing myself and you're not hearing me either. So let us know in the chat, please. You are our feedback crew. You're letting us know how the experience is so that we can improve it. Thank you. Yeah. We've also disabled a platform that we typically use called Crisp, which is a third-party noise canceling thing to use the built-in restream. So we're just testing this out. And if you happen to hear any like movement, tapping, scrunching, let us know as well. So we're also testing and playing with this as well. All right. What's alive in you, Summer?
Uh, what's alive in me is this feeling of burrowing in for winter and excitement to be creative in this time. I like to paint and um, feel the warm fuzzies around Christmas I don't really celebrate Christmas in the traditional sense, but I like to spend the time when it feels more quiet and silent. As everyone's celebrating, I feel like I have more space and time, so it feels spacious and easy. What about you? What's alive in you
Nice.
today, Mr. Dre?
Nice. A little anxious in terms of how the audio would go. Curious, sometimes just cross your fingers and then check the end product afterwards, right? It does take some energy to test and play and find the right tuning. Overall, feeling grateful, sense of spaciousness and ease in my system the last few days has been really relaxing for me. And just coming from a men's initiation over the weekend, which was transformative, I'm still feeling the effects of it. And something's different because past exposures to like transformational experiences were a lot of intellect. There were experiences, but it was more about understanding what happened rather than kind of living it and feeling it. And this time I really felt it. It's like I finally get what they mean by being, doing, and having, kind of shifting from that do, have, be to be, do, have, because it's felt. And so it's
Hmm.
kind of landed into my body. So I'm walking around with more spaciousness, more ease, and there's more of a slow down, a deliberate uh, slowing down that creates more compassion for myself and others, and noticing the reactivity as in slow motion, and then stopping that reactivity and just breathing and just shifting. So a big thing I'll realize is the reactivity is coming up slower than before, where it was just it's like, oh, I see it coming, like slow mo. Yeah.
Cool. This is exciting. Slowing down, literally slowing down our nervous systems. And we're going to talk about that today, right? Nervous systems. Um, in a less conventional way. Um, yeah, exciting. Slow-mo. And I got my Jedi Master Trainer hood on today because triggers. Look at that. Summer's on. Summer B8s, and I'm a summer. Cool. Hi, welcome. Um, there is a way. We're going to talk about switches, this internal switch that allows us to regulate our own nervous system. Animals do it all the time. Deer get stuck in headlights. It shakes a while and then it's fine. Children are born in this world having a freak out and a meltdown, and 30 seconds later, they're fine. So, why is it as adults and the human species do we get triggered and stay in marriages for so long and loop constantly? Why is it that we get sick and have heart attacks and nervous system breakdowns and burnout and adrenal fatigue? Why does that happen? That's not in our normal nervous system place. So, how have we got to this place? And I have a few ideas and theories about that myself. Um, and it's so cool to hear you experience what you did over the weekend with the men, where it's not coming from the head, It's coming from the body in the experience with the other men, and I'm curious to
Mhm.
know, like, what you noticed and what the difference was, like, what made that impact on
Yeah,
you?
yeah. And this ties into when I'm researching myself as well, is that the group nervous system supports in me in deepening how I regulate myself. And so the slowdown comes from experiencing other men in a space where a lot of vulnerable emotions were showing up. And it was just held with so much care and kindness and compassion that my own share and witnessing another man's share helped build this slowdown and this capacity to regulate myself. Isn't that fascinating? That I think if I were to point it to, it's being in a community, in a group space where I was able to complete that loop. I was able to be soothed by other human beings around me, which ties into this study and research by Donald Winnicott, which is he was a pediatrician and psychoanalyst. And what he discovered is that self regulation was born through co regulation.
Yeah.
It was born through when we were born as a baby, soothed and held by our mothers. And through her steady presence, we bored her nervous system as an anchor to how to self regulate ourselves, which is fascinating. And it makes so much sense because the more I do these work in spaces of other people, the more expansion and spaciousness I have within myself. It's as if I came out of that experience with an upgrade that has
Mhm.
stayed with me. And that you and I, in our own experience, because we work, we live and play together, we get to co regulate each other in those spaces and kind of rewrite those patterns where I didn't used to have that, where if I were to cry, if I were to throw a temper tantrum, I was told to shut up, right? No soothing. So what happened? Like I pressurized my nervous system, right? I didn't have a way to release that energy. I didn't have a model. I didn't have support. Because if you give me support in terms of how to lift the weight, you give me a spot to do a bench press and give me the right form, you go away. I have the technique and the experience to do that myself. Do you see that?
Yes, I do. Mhm. Yes. Yeah, it's very exciting. We're just coming back to learn how our body conduit, our nervous system, which is all electromagnetic signals of the brain and the heart, actually works. How our mental capacities and overriding with our rational mind of what we think we should be. Boy shouldn't cry. You should be doing this. Oh, take a time out. Go by yourself. It's almost as if we're punishing children and, all of these different scientific co-regulating, sleeping, put the baby by themselves, stupid shit. When we know if we're able to tap into ourselves, what is soothing and calming for us? And ironically, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I don't feel safe," and they're always looking outside, which we need to. Um, but the first thing is being able to go, "Oh, I feel safe within myself." And it does, like you say, start with our mothers who soothe us and regulate us. And if they're frazzled, if they're addicted to something, if they're overcompensating, if single moms these days, we can't do that. No one is born to be a single mom, and that's goes back to that whole saying: it takes a village to raise a child, and a village to heal an unhealed adult that hasn't been raised in the village itself. We get upgrades through healthier adults that are open and are able to hold that space and ironically be vulnerable, which means identify what they're feeling in their body their emotions, their sensations, their tensions, and speak it out loud in the moment. Most of us don't know. It's kind of a simple skill and really hard because most of us have a feeling or something that's going on and we don't think we should tell people, or we try to hide it, or we make up a story about what this means about myself or the other person. But as we're allowed to say, hey, my heart's beating a bit faster right now and I'm feeling anxious in this moment, and the other person can just receive it without judging it, labeling it, or fixing it, our emotions pass through us in 30 to 90 seconds. If, however, someone is judging, someone is labeling, or trying to fix you based on a story that they have, or you try to fix yourself based on a story you have, your nervous system goes on the fritz. And that's the same thing as people, oh, I have to go to work and I'll work 10, 12, 14 hours a day and I'll keep doing it because I have a story that I'm not going to have enough money, or whatever the reasons are for disregarding our own nervous system. It eventually takes us out and we have to reevaluate our lives.
Mm.
So it's very exciting that I think as a species, we're learning to regulate and co-regulate, like you say. It slows down to this capacity and this ability to know what's happening for me in the moment so that your reactivity slows down. And eventually, I believe the connection, I call it a switch. It's just a switch. Oh, my inner safety switch is on. And now I can see what's happening in real time versus going into my head or my story or my beliefs or the way that I think I should be. The personas that we've been living in.
Right. Right. Moving towards the authentic true self instead of the false self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it talks about this idea of like over attunement, like how some people are born to helicopter parents, where that mom and dad is like everywhere, right? And so this over attunement creates this lack of independence of this child to be able to, learn how to take care of their own needs. And under attunement, like being not present, neglect, or abandonment, can lead to developing this false persona that's based on these
Mm-hmm.
maladaptive patterns, right? To get needs met, like the saboteurs. And so I was reading this that uh, Donald Winnicott coined this term good enough parenting. Because there's no such thing as a perfect parent, just good enough. Because the points where I missed the mark helps create frustration either in my child or in someone, my partner, where it builds resilience.
Mm-hmm.
We got to have a healthy dose of frustration of not being able to get our needs met because it might not happen all the time. So I get to experience this frustration to realize it's actually not the end of the world, that I can deal with it and find other resources to regulate myself until that person, my caregiver, my partner comes back to me. Right. And as you were speaking about this place where we have a beautiful time to reparent ourselves, especially in Canada, there's no bombs dropping,
Mm.
right? We get to practice this in the dojo to reparent ourselves. We're just reparenting each other. When I find myself in a space where we can be able to hold that, hold the pain, hold the hurt without judging, without fixing it. It's like we get to, in a way, realize it's okay and I get wisdom out of it rather than compartmentalize myself, which comes with the price. And I get it. During war times, our ancestors had to do that to survive. If I'm in survival, there's actually no time to cry. There's no time to be in my emotions. It's actually physically life or death, or going to war, right, to protect the clan. There's
Mm.
no, hey,
Well, I
sometimes
don't know.
those moments, it's just part of it, right? The survival to
Mhm.
thrive. It depends
Yeah.
on like what's happening in that context, in that environment, in that situation.
Well, I'm going to challenge you a little bit there because I would say Viktor Frankl would have a different opinion because he was a prisoner of World War and he got thrown into a pile of dead bodies, and still survived to talk about Man's Search for Meaning and wrote his book. And I would say nowadays we have a different type of survival threatening us, and that is our whole economic system. We just went to the grocery store yesterday and romaine lettuce is $5 a head. And like not 3 years ago, it was $1. It's like, oh my gosh, every extra dollar that I make, it's $2 more expensive these days. And so there is this economic thing that reminds me of the 1920s. And so I think as people were working 2 to 3 jobs, it can be just as traumatizing as war or physical bombs in a lot of ways, because it creates this internal anxiety and stress that prevents us from slowing down. And I get what you're saying as well. So there comes to be this time where it's like, if we're to find creative solutions for the human species, is it that we're busy and money is going up, or is it because we're buying into it? And if we slow down, we find creative solutions enough. And so we have to have this trust or inner faith in being able to go, wait a sec, if I slow down, I can see things more clearly, versus the fear-based thinking that, oh my God, everything's coming to get me. And Viktor Frankl, I would say, as a prisoner in the world wars, being thrown into a pile of dead bodies and surviving that, tells me that it doesn't really matter what my outside, whatever's going on. I can be in a hurricane, I can be in whatever it is. If I stand in the center of my being, I'm able to discern what to do to stay calm in any situation and come out of it. Because I think survival mode comes more from a belief about what we're able to handle. And this is where, like, I'm wearing my Jedi Master trainer. When you're in a situation that requires a lot of when you're doing martial arts, and you know, who's the martial arts guy? We watch all the movies.
Jackie Chan.
Lee, Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee. The martial art has to do with the energies, what's around you, and how you respond to it from the inside. So your own nervous system. So as we upgrade our nervous systems, it's easier to respond to the energies from this calm centered state. And then it doesn't seem as overwhelming.
Yeah. So going back to the point, I'm not saying it's like everyone, right? I'm just explaining why our ancestors from war, from pillage, like traditionally it's survival, and to
Yeah.
protect is to compartmentalize the emotions. And when you use Viktor Frankl, for example, what came to mind for me is awareness, having awareness and the feeling of safety within myself. If I feel safe within my own system, then it doesn't matter what's happening out there, right? That can pull me out of that unsafety because I'm safe within myself. So 100%, the path to the light, the path to the Jedi, is to pay attention what's happening within my internal reality, despite what's happening in my external reality, right? And that the challenge and the difficulty rises when there's bombs being dropped, when a gun's being pointed at my face, right? And it takes exposure, I think, for myself. Just like I was being exposed in vulnerable environments where I shared something that I held on to that I thought I was be taking to my grave over the weekend, but I shared it. And because I share it, it makes it easier for me to share it continuously. Mm.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, speaking of bombs, when you say bombs, because there's physical bombs, there's also family secrets, emotional things that people keep between each other. And when it's exposed or spoken, it comes off as an emotional bomb. Um, and so there comes a time where there's this space that we need to create within ourselves. And I believe it's a natural mechanism, just like children. Something happens and they breathe and their adult holds that space. There's a lot of these videos coming out that I'm really appreciating seeing, mostly on Instagram, where instead of go sit in the corner, stop crying, The parent sits and holds this beautiful space. It's okay. Keep breathing. You're all right. Keep breathing. Are you ready to go up and play it? No? Okay. I'm going to just hold you here. And then eventually the nervous system just comes back into regulation. And it's allowing the energy to move as it does so naturally versus becoming a trauma. So it is a bit different as adults than weaving through the beliefs and the trauma to get to that core sensation, but the same mechanism still works. As we breathe, observe, and watch, it does move and give us insight. There's more layers than we were as kids, but it's the same natural mechanism. That's what I'm really learning for myself and with other people. And I'm curious also what you're doing. And Chris, cool. Hi, Naomi. Hey, Chris. Yee.
Yeah. Chris says Jedi Master is being able to choose my response to any external situation. Yeah. Bruce Lee said, be like
Be
water,
like water.
go with the flow. Love it. Exactly. And that's the training, right? Is for me to be exposed to that. I can think about it, I can read about it. It's not until I get into those spaces where I'm confronted with that, right? That I get to practice in relationship. That's why I believe is the great initiation of our lifetime is when we're both intentionally wanting to do the work, we're coming back to repair. We're turning those triggers into teachers, into gifts, right? And we're building that muscle. And I'm curious, seeing that you're chiming in here, Chris and Naomi, I love it. If you hear any background noise right now, I'm just curious as a little test. Do you hear that napping? Do you hear that, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like the restream noise cancellation is shit. Note it for next time. It doesn't work. You hear this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, just
So
don't
what I've been
move.
doing, I've been muting my side when you're speaking. That's what I've been doing. So um, I see Naomi there. Some comments. One sec. I'm gonna scroll up here. The comments are coming in. I love it. And got to catch up. All right. Naomi says, "Yeah, Dre. I wonder if by speaking out loud, you told your body or nervous system that was safe in a way it hasn't experienced before. 100%. I think it wasn't like I was telling my body. It's just that at that at that weekend experience, I told myself leading into it, if I felt any discomfort, any hesitation, I'm gonna chime in. I'm gonna name it. So in those places of open sharing, I became like many times the first person to share. And I had fear, I had anxiety in my system. I just not had the awareness of noting that and doing it anyways. And when I did it, my voice started to quiver. My heart was beating fast. And as I continued to spoke and the person in front of me held presence while the men around me held presence, I felt safer and safer and more calm in my body. And once I had that experience, it made it easier for me the next time to share again, to share again. And it was Jedi level training because over the weekend, I shared certain things where I was like, I was ready to share this. And towards the end, I shared something that I couldn't have imagined I wanted to share. Oh my God. Summer knows about it. And I feel my friends this week know about it now too. Because I was like, you know what? If I shared it, you get to know. And man, were they ever proud? Were they ever right? It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of like working baby weights, right? 5 pounds, 20 pounds, and then this was a 200 pounder dumbbells that I shared. Yep. I'm not going to go into detail because I want to keep it sacred. And if you do connect with me outside of this, I'll be happy to share what it was. Yeah.
Yes. All right. There's a few other comments there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Catch us up, Summer.
Where are we here? Yeah, Dre, wonder if you okay, yeah, that was Naomi's. I hear that exposure creates more safety for the next time. Yes, true. And then Chris says the less load I carry of trauma, emotional baggage, hurts, wounds, resentments, the less reactive I am in life. Yeah. So as we keep bringing up these triggers, we realize the healing, the natural nervous system healing of it. We get through the layers until we get to that child self, or what they call in IFS, the exiles, the stuff we've tucked away because it wasn't safe at that time for us. It's so exciting, actually, because triggers really, they're mirrors. And as we can escalate each other, because that's what typically I've seen in my parents and my family and a lot of people around me lately, is we can have triggers that escalate each other, but there's also this internal mechanism, an internal switch, an internal safety switch that allows me then to also de-escalate and start to regulate our systems. And I think we're starting to head this way as a species to reclaim our natural ability and spiritual, what would we call that? Our spiritual essence, our spiritual being as an energetic being to conduct, what would you call it? Source energy, instead of thinking it's emotion and something we need to stuff away and regulate and dysfunction and label and judge it and try to put us on drugs so we're not feeling anything.
You know what comes to mind for me when you share that is like fully being myself, self-expressed. Isn't that such a beautiful thing? To be in a
Mm.
space where I can just speak my mind, speak what's happening in my inner reality without being judged, made wrong, or being like whatever the term gaslighted, right? Though
Well, yeah.
let's go with this for example, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Because through that experience, right, I'm able to then create awareness and separation between what are judgments, what are stories, what are limiting beliefs and paradigms. I get to talk out loud without being shut down. And I'm just saying that this is the practice of me finding this true self, being able to delineate between what's the false self, my saboteurs, my protector parts that are telling a certain story to prevent me from feeling that pain, to being, oh, interesting. I'm unblended is what Naomi talks about in IFS, right? So I'm just speaking from my own journey. When I'm in a space where I can just speak out loud without censor, without filter, and it's held in a sacred way, I'm able to find the path to spit myself up and find discernment in that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and there's a bit of a caution bell niggle going off in my body because I think some people think, well, I'm just speaking my truth and blah blah blah. You're an asshole and blah blah blah, 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 and then they're just kind of barfing because I think some people don't recognize that they're in stories and they're speaking their truth from their judgments rather than the vulnerability that it takes to be in one's body and having awareness of judgments and how they arise. There's a specific Jedi master training to recognizing, and I think a lot of people, because I'm in my work, I'm always like, okay, my only job is to keep you out of your head, i.e. your judgments. And I notice people don't know the difference sometimes between what they're judging, and that a lot of people still want to be right and wrong versus just what their experience is or what their relationship is to another person. Um, so that's the only thing I would say, because yes, we want to be fully expressed, but there's a few different layers to that
Yeah, I get it,
reality.
and it's part of the journey for me. Like it's like, okay, go to the extreme of the spectrum, right? Just go be super nice and pay the price of being super nice, and then go and be an asshole, be a dick, and see what happens. I'm able to have the experience of the contrast. So when I go back to speak myself uncensored, yeah, 100%. There might be some like venom, some poison spewing out, right? And this is coming from a place of can it be held in a safe way where I also then learn the awareness of wait a minute, how much am I abdicating responsibility and ownership? Am I in victim? How much am I disempowering myself? Because it comes back to me, right? You can't fix me. You can't save me. There might be a part of me where you're like, hey, Dre, you're being a victim. I'll be like, F you. And I'll be more reinforcing my story, right? It comes a point in time where I realize, how is that working out for you, Dre? How is it working out for you putting blame on everything outside of yourself. How's that working out for you? And it comes a point where I'm like, dang, this is not working for me. Right. And then it comes to a point of how can I own my experience? How can I take responsibility for what I say while caring for the impact I leave on others? How can I see my role in this, that this is a co-creative experience? And then the awareness starts to come for me to be like, oh, I see what's happening. Am I able to label and name my judgments and my stories? Yeah.
It's tricky. It can be super tricky, especially when we're dealing with people who have opposite nervous systems than we do. When we have, for example, I'm more of a controller, what you might call more of an anxious attached person. When people move away to regulate their nervous systems, or they avoid, or they don't get back to me, I'm like, they're ghosting me. They're whatever they're doing to me. And I start making up stories because there's no clarity. And that's where we get into this counterweight or counterbalance, this oppositional mirror. And until I can go inside myself and go, hey, breathe into what you're noticing. Breathe into the anxiety, Summer. Because when I was a kid and I was anxious or throwing a temper tantrum, my parents would ignore me. And the thing is, when we're triggered, we can tell when people are judging us. So there's this disgust or this annoyance would just make me melt down, and I would feel like I was all alone in my experience. And so now I get to be like, okay. And I have gifted people like Naomi as well, who lets me then be able to contact that place. And I get to go, oh, oh yeah, that was a story. Oh, I'm not anxious anymore. I'm no longer then chasing the person I was chasing. And this happened actually just a few days ago, right? My daughter is my Jetter Master trainer. As I return to my own internal sense of safety and calm, magic happens. It happens in the field of consciousness itself. I'm sitting there worried, and as I started painting and have the weekend away to myself as Dre was at his men's group, um, I was a happy little camper in my own little world, and Dre comes home and says, "Hey, your daughter sent a message on in our group chat." I'm like, "What? She did? I didn't even notice because I wasn't worried about it." It comes around to us as we're able to do the U-turn, as we're blaming other people. They always say, as one finger's pointing there, three are pointing back, but we're just so stubborn at trying to point the finger at other people and blame them and tell them how bad they are, or they're a cheater, or they're a whatever they are. Well, how did we get here? And there's a large level of discomfort. We haven't really been taught how to sit in the energetic world and experience it. If we're feeling physical pain or anxiety, fear comes up. But if we can breathe through the fear, it shifts in 30 to 90 seconds. And it's stunning. The epiphanies, the insights, the inner voices, the clairvoyance. This is when we start to be a spiritual species that gets insight and communication on a whole other energetic realm. None of this verbal, mental language barrier that really limits us.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And Chris mentioned like ownership, it is still a place of blame and judgment. This came through for me as a way of like, if I were to share my hurt and pain, right? What type of energy is it? Right? Is it heavy? Is it dense? Is it projection? Is it stabbing? And even if I take ownership and responsibility for myself, what is the energy that I'm directing to myself as well? Is it one of blame, shame, embarrassment, guilt, right? And it's to unpack the story. So there's layers to this, right? And one thing I know that gets me back into alignment is this felt sense of compassion for myself, Coming back to
Mhm.
that, if there's so much hurt and pain that's coming out of me, it means what we call in the MVC world, there's a baby need that needs to be nourished. There's a need that's a baby in me that needs care and attention and presence. And when I can give myself that presence, right? Like you said, just breathe, honor, and trust, right? When I get unblended, what starts to happen is I start to see my fear, my anger, my stress. And then it points to me to a particular need. I might reveal the story that's playing out as well with that. And when I have that observation, I'm like, oh my, this is my baby. I'm here to nourish that. You can call it the exile starts to show up, my inner child. And then when I can have compassion for myself through self regulation, self soothing, or co regulation with another, then I view the situation that I had a trigger with that person differently.
Mhm.
I can re-engage the conversation in a different way, and it's felt because now my words don't carry so much weight anymore. I don't have
Mhm.
much charge anymore that could trigger a nervous system response to close, shut down, or cause that person to fight me. So it always goes back to self, right? Of this experience of like, what am I creating here? What am I exploring? What do I want more of? Do I want more understanding, more peace, more love? Really, yeah. It can be as esoteric as that, is to become that for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I see Naomi and Brianna. Hi, Brianna. Nice to see you here. Yeah. Naomi's got their This is why I think a community is so vital because I see myself more clearly when I see myself in others. I can see judgment of saboteurs or stories in others, then reflect inward for me. Yes, this is the opposite of groupthink. It's group feel, group truth, definitely. And Brianna, the way you reflect and share Summer is so empowering for me and invites me into my own reflections safely with comfort. Ah, nice. Thank you. I'm glad. And Chris, I see the world today is coming to the crescendo of crisis, needed to heal the wounds and the shift the paradigm of our times. Gotta hit bottom like any other addict. Yeah, there's some collective addictions going on for sure. Yeah, the addiction to speed and adrenaline and the accumulation of money and ugh. Um, I think people are really shifting now. What Dre and I noticed too yesterday was we're driving around as there's fewer baby boomers because in their time they had a lot of money and potential and there's houses being sold. Um, have a few friends whose parents have died recently and stuff just doesn't seem to have the same value it used to. I see some pockets of people really not seeking the accumulation of things, seeing the emptiness in it. Um, and this picture always comes to my head. There's this funny picture of a U-Haul coming behind a hearse. And I always think it's funny because no one passes away and takes any stuff with them. And so people have estate sales and um, they leave legacies, and it's always been thought of in terms of money. And I think in this time and frame, it's something completely different. And I think it's coming out of a paradigm that we've been in for thousands and thousands of years, a hierarchical system, whether it's climbing the corporate ladder and into this. Oh, and I forget her name, the one that has the sociologist who talks about um, the paradigm shift in the cultures. She's got this pyramid video that shows how all these sugar cubes. We've got, the serfs and the people that work 9 to 5 jobs, and then we've got the whatever, blah, 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 the king maybe, or the people who make a lot of money. And how, as we start to breathe into our authenticity, we become more open, we're less bought into a system that tries to climb on top of each other, that it becomes, instead of a revolution, what she calls an inclusion, where Dre, if you're spouting out your obnoxiousness and your beliefs, and I can just hold space instead of going, well, you're an asshole or you're something else, and we're escalating and we're creating these fights and this division that creates all of the wars in our world. It's not going to exist anymore. It's going to dissolve and become inclusion into us holding space just to be human for each other and with each other. Martha, yes, thank you, Naomi. Martha Beck. Martha Beck has that video. It's an 8-minute video. If some of you want, we can put it below. I think it is so brilliant in describing what's happening for us. Authenticity creates an even playing field on the human species rather than this hierarchical president of the country. It goes back to more of a political thing in and around what they call anarchy because they believe it's complete chaos. But what it is that every person has the ability to self-regulate and also to lead. And we want to be of service to others. It's a natural, essential need that we all have. We don't need to be controlled by others. We are self-contained. And because we're self-contained and can meet our own needs, we can then also reflect and meet others. It's an innate mechanism. We don't have to try so hard.
Mm. Yeah.
It's actually way easier than we think it is.
Presence. Slowing down.
Presence.
Slowing down and smelling the roses. As simple as that. And when it can be modeled, when I can see others doing that, it gives me permission. It shows me a way to do that. So finding myself in those communities, those spaces where this is being practiced, this is being spoken about, this paradigm, right, of a new earth bring into form. And it just is not so simple of like old earth, new earth, just like that, right? There's growing pains in between. And that's the journey, right? It's not the destination, but the journey as we embark, and I invite you to embark onto your authentic self, your true self. That there'll be twists and turns, ups and downs, and I get to look back and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I wouldn't have been able to share what I've shared on the weekend like a year ago, even 6 months ago, right? So it's like, wow, so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we look back and go, that was the funnest roller coaster ride I ever had. Oh. Hey, that was fun. Can we do it again?
That's why we come back, eh? I don't know what it is. I missed the ride. Shoot.
Right.
Let me go back. I didn't get the memo. I forgot.
Right. Some of us are questioning our soul contracts. Did I read the fine print on that one? I don't remember signing up for this. Yeah,
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah. Nervous
Mhm.
system regulation, isn't it? Like, wow. To be in a space where like I get to explore, right? I get to speak those things where I wasn't comfortable speaking. It just brings so much aspects of myself online. It's so rich, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to diss necessarily, people practice breathing or other things to regulate their nervous system, but there is nothing like being in a space where you can feel others and get that reflection. There's nothing like it. And it elevates, escalates, and expedites our evolution and growth like nothing I've ever seen.
And you know what muscle gets so developed in me when
Mhm.
when I'm honored by someone's deep share that maybe they could have just taken it to them to the grave. Maybe it was so hard for them to let this be revealed. I feel so honored.
Mhm. Yeah.
I feel so full. My heart is so expansive that I get to be in touch with this person's humanity. And I'm like, I'm only left with awe and compassion
Yeah.
for this man, for this woman. And it gives me like a reflection of, wow, this is such a gift on the other side. So if I were to share something that is so heavy for me, this can be a gift for another to hold that alongside with me.
Mhm. Yep.
Let's do it. And like, oh my God, I feel so light on the receiving end, on the giving end. As if like, thank you for allowing me to carry this burden with you, brother. Thank you. You're teaching me about something. I'm learning through your experience. Wow. So good. So juicy.
Yeah, the deepest learning comes from that. That reminds me of the book "And There Was Light" by Jacques Lasurian, and he was blind, and how he described the education system as, in his own mind, as everything, the books, the blackboard, everything was gray. Because to learn about Julius Caesar or the temperatures or the clouds or was nice. But he said to be able to understand why we're studying these things or what's going on inside of someone else would have been so much richer to learn and to see. And he started explaining that as he was blind, if he went into a state of fear or he judged others or he was uncomfortable, that he would inevitably knock himself into doorways and things. But as he thought well of others and was compassionate, everything in his mind's eye would be full of color and he could navigate his world with ease. And I think there is something to be said. We talk about our eyesight, but there's also insight, and they're very related in terms of how we see the world, either in love and compassion or fear. And when we're in a state of fear, things don't go well. We seem to repeat patterns. There's frustration. And so part of this learning and this Jedi Master training is, here we are. Just like Chris was saying, Bruce Lee, be like water. Oh yeah. Oh, here I am. I'm finding this new neuro pathway and groove of how this works to move and flow with energy rather than continually blocking it with the way that I think things should be, the secrets I should be keeping, the way that I was taught, and the beliefs that don't serve me or humanity anymore. And so this is why I'm so excited.
It makes me feel alive. Like it's felt.
Yeah.
And I'm just I'm just desiring to be more on that path. Like if I exercise vulnerability and deep shares and just all that good stuff that makes me feel alive, I want more of it. Like it's felt in my body.
Mhm.
My body just knows, right? Yeah.
It does. It's really more about unlearning all the bad habits because it's innate. We remember more than learn. And so to me, it's actually the unlearning that's the key part of it all.
Mm, right. Hmm.
And I think we're coming up on time here. Wanted to remind people this month in our Get Resourced group for conscious co-creating relationships on December 10th, we are having a workshop, Triggers Our Teachers, because Christmas is coming up and we call it Triggerville because Christmas is prime time to be triggered and to prepare for some Jedi Master training this season.
Yep. It's
So noon on December
you
10th.
got noon on December 10th. This workshop's available to those in our community. The registration link is in the post. There's one post today for that. For those that are not in our Facebook community, uh, we'll post a link to that. Join it, and you'll get access to that workshop. We host these workshops once a month. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can put the link underneath the YouTube channel of this video too to sign up. Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. As we're wrapping up here, just want to close this out by just kind of checking in the comments here, seeing that Naomi Chris is speaking to the roller coaster. The ride will always be there, terrifying and exhilarating. Yeah. Chris has been renegotiating his soul contract recently. Okay. Brianna, connection through, co-regulation through connection, reflection, trust, and vulnerability. Yeah. We are only sick as the secrets. Mm. And Chris, the recent heart issue has been teaching me and showing me where I am still blocked. where I'm still holding what is truly important. And yeah, Naomi, the workshop is free. The workshop is free. Yeah. Yeah. So as we kind of bring this to a close and bring it to completion, any other comments around what was shared? Nervous system, group dynamics, vulnerability, energy.
Just that this concept that I've recently learned and metaphorically is the dragon's breath. That one moment of true presence, not forced breathing techniques, but just presence. Space can held, can transverse years and years and years of trauma, of energy that's stuck. It gets released. Energy is able to complete its movement because energy is always wanting to be in motion, emotion, energy in motion. And so as we stop trying to create something and forcefully create it or destroy one, oh, I'm going to affirm myself this way or positive think myself this way, even though I don't feel it. The key thing that we often say is you can't think your way out of something you felt your way into. As you're present to what is, which also reminds me to Byron Katie's work, Loving What Is, it just moves. We don't have to do anything. So this idea that you said from the very beginning, the be do have, as we be, this is what we attract, what we have. That's all I have to say.
I'm going to ride the coattails of that one. What came to mind was to belong is to listen. To belong is to listen to myself through presence, attunement, and to others. To respond through that listening, and that invokes in a relationship with myself and to nature and to the beings all around me, is to listen. Yeah. Rather than to control. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. We're just returning to ancient Aboriginal earth-based culture, what they always knew. Yeah.
It's innate. It's in us.
Chris. It is. It's already here. It's nothing to do. Chris, his last comment will wrap it up. Love you guys so much. We love you too. And I hope you're resting well. What you're teaching and modeling is so incredibly powerful and is shifting me, you, and the world, as we all are with each other. And I'm so grateful to be on the planet with those I encounter that I believe have come here to shift the centuries of what I would call our emotional, spiritual, and mental enslavement patterns. We can free each other. We can.
Yes. Till next time, peace be upon you. Ciao and peace.
Bye, everybody.